Okay. Well, it's 2:01. Let's get started. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to attend this webcast. Today, we'll be talking about an update to the Kentucky Medicaid Reimbursement SBAC report, commonly called just the SBAC report because that's a very long name. As with many Kentucky programs in an enterprise ERP, this report has been around for some time. After some consideration, we saw a need to update the report to accommodate the different KTRS on behalf amounts due to the new retirement tiers that have been added to KTRS over the years. So we may have some people joining the webcast today who maybe we don't normally interact with. So I wanted to give you a brief overview of our team. The team name is technically called the School District Financial System Services Team. We're part of the Office of Education Technology. We do have a team box. It's EERP at education.ky.gov. If you ever have any questions regarding state reporting, please give the team an email at that. Both Kim and I have access to that, as well as Kathy Pelletier, who's our vendor partner. And one of our team's main duties is to manage updates to existing programs, our Kentucky specific programs, and verify they work to standards. So we also support these Kentucky programs. So that's our team box. As you'll hear during the webcast, I may accidentally use the word Munis. We'll probably know the system that we use in Kentucky is Munis Forever, but it also was renamed a few years ago Enterprise ERP, short name EERP. So you'll hear those names interchangeably along with the word Munis. So as I mentioned, over the years, sorry, a little housekeeping item. I turned off the chat on this meeting, but we do have the Q&A open. So at any point during the webcast, if you have a question, just select the QA on the top menu and drop your question in there. We'll be happy to respond at some point. So as I mentioned, over the years, KTRS has added some new retirement tiers, and each of these tiers pays a different employer percentage, thus a different on behalf amount for employees. The program was updated so that when assigning an SBAC code to employees, you'll also need to, sorry, let me try that again. The program has been updated so that when you assign SBAC codes to employees, you will also need to assign a retirement tier to certified employees. And that based on the retirement tier assigned to that employee, the correct amount will be displayed on the SBAC employee cost report. The program is supposed to be released, the update is supposed to be released tomorrow at the end of the day on Tyler Deploy. So if you have your automatic update scheduled, it should install over the weekend if that's when you have it scheduled. Also, you can go ahead and start making these changes before the program is installed by adding the codes to people. There's no waiting on that. The deadline for this past quarter report was due, I believe, tomorrow. So that's why we chose to wait to send this update out tomorrow to Tyler Deploy. It gives you plenty of time before the next quarter report is due. So as I mentioned, you do have some action items that you need to do. You need to assign tiers to employees that are currently reported on the SBAC report before the Q4 report that opens up in January and closes on February 13th. If you fail to add these tiers to employees, it will cause the report not to be correct, and all those employees will report to 0 in the on behalf column on the employer cost report. So the settings that you need to change in ERP, you're going to navigate to follow the menu path. It's in the guide. We provided it in the email that we sent out with the webcast reminder. You'll go to the user-defined fields program. Up at the top on the menu bar, there is a codes button. You'll select that. Then you need to add the 4 codes, 1 through 4, with giving it a short description and a long description. This is an example of that screen at the user defined field. You'll see the codes over there on the right hand side. You'll select that and you can see where I added code 1, gave it a short description of tier 1 and the long description of KTRS tier 1. And of course you'd repeat that through 1 through 4. So you select the back button and we do need to add the user defined tier field as well. It's in the same program. You'll select the add button and follow the directions where you add the field code tier, give it a label name, the description. There's a security category. It's going to be a user-defined field. And then we also need to enable the codes. And I'm going to show you a screenshot here. Let me turn on my little laser pointer. So you do need to add the field code up here. At the top, give it a description. Make sure this box is marked. And then down at the very bottom left, you'll see all the different codes available to you. You'll highlight that. There's a toggle over here with an arrow on the right side where the arrow's at. You select it and they'll populate over on the right side. So after you're done, all 4 codes, the KTRS tier 1 through 4, will be tied to this field code called tier. Let's see here. The next thing you'll need to do is identify all certified employees that are currently reported on the report. You can do that a couple different ways by either running the employee roster program in the SBAC report, or you can also just review all the employees that have that user defined code of SBAC assigned. Assigning the tier code to employees is exactly the same process as adding the SBAC code, except employees are now going to have one additional code assigned to them. Now, I realize that, larger districts may have a bunch of employees assigned to the SBAC code, and there is the option of importing these codes, the tiers, to employees. You can use the employee import program. I know that I've recommended that program for other items. Maybe you're using it during your queues cleanup to import maybe termination dates if you've gone through that. Employee import program is just a great useful tool, and I recommend that. You may want to look into that. Appendix A in the guide will gives you an overview of what you need to do to import those tiers. And again, it's really the exact same process as you do now. And you go to the employee master, you search for the employee, and you'll add that tier code. It's the exact same process of adding that tier. When you're done, the employee will have 2 tiers. Here's an example. I'm sorry, 2 codes. It says tier, what is that, tier 4 for the employee, and on the browse screen you can see the employee John Snow has the code SBAC, but they now also have this KTRS tier 4. So every certified employee that pays into KTRS does need this code. And the reason why is because there's different percentages, and these date amounts are current as of August 2025. I'm sure there's no legislation that's changed since then, and it's calculated based on that 16.105% minus that MIF, the 3% equals 13.105 for tiers 1 and 2. Tiers 3 and 4 have different percentages. So what you'll know when you have the program update installed, because when you go into the employee cost report, you'll have those additional tiers listed on your screen. This is an example of the employee cost report. Nothing was really changed here other than the KTRS tier has been added, and based on the tier assigned to the employee, the KTRS on behalf amount will calculate based on their salary. A couple of final notes here. Again, it has to be added for all those certified employees. Failure to add that tier code to an employee will result in a 0 amount being calculated on that employer cost report. So please, when you go through this, run your report, give it another once over, and make sure all those employees that have are in the certified job class range have that tier assigned. And still, it's not calculated on hybrid employees. The program was designed a long time ago to calculate only on certain summary class codes, so hybrids don't fall typically in that range. So you will still have to continue to manually calculate the on behalf percentage for those hybrid employees. Those employees that are a classified position but are allowed to pay into KTRS. If you have any questions on all this, just shoot an email to our team box. So Kim and I will be able to answer anything that we can help you with as far as setting those up. Told you it's going to be a short webcast, but I see we have a couple questions. Hop into that. One is, will we get access to the PowerPoint? Yes, after the webcast is over. Our lovely broadcasting team will going to post this to the KDE media portal. Once it's archived, we'll send out the link to the archived webcast, including the slide deck will be attached to that email. And another question here is, since hybrid employees still need to be calculated manually, is there any reason to add their tier to the user-defined fields? And no, from my testing of this, it will not even display the tier for those hybrid employees. You will still need to manually calculate those employees. So nothing has changed with the hybrid folks. Um, you have plenty of time to go about getting this done before your next quarterly report. Not much else there. Does anybody else have any questions? I said this would be a pretty short webcast. I'll hang out here for a moment. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. I think the guide covers pretty much all you need to know. And if you have a lot of employees, it may be worth the time to look at that employee import program if you're not familiar with it, uh, because I can see so many uses for that going forward. With different tasks. Maybe you have third-party vendors for health insurance deductions, outside state insurance. You could use the employee import program for. It's just a really handy tool. And another question, why are there 4-tier definitions? It's based on years employed. KTRS has different tiers. It's the percentages that are paid. So I believe tiers 1 and 2, let me go back and see if I have tiers 1 and 2. They have the employer rate this is for non-federally funded employees is 16.105%. They pay the exact same amount. Tier 3 is, and people may have to correct me if I'm wrong, there's a cash balance group, and that might be the last one. They, over the years, due to legislation, new tiers have been added for KTRS. So that's where the tiers come in, and I believe it's based on when the employee first joined the retirement system. So that's the definition of a tier, and that's based on your deductions in EERP. Well, that's all I had, folks. This is a short and sweet presentation. I think we'll call it. Thank you all for joining. See y'all later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.